This is Matador News.
And these are today's headlines.
I got trees coming down on me and power flashes. I gotta back out of here.
13 people injured as dozens of tornadoes tear through the Midwest.
I am listening to all voices.
Attorney General Loretta Lynch says the Justice Department will look into civil rights violations in Baltimore.
Of civil rights violations.
And CSUN provides services for stressed out students. Hello and welcome to Matador News. I'm Sara Vong.
And I'm James Lindsay.
Attorney General Loretta Lynch says the Justice Department will be investigating whether or not the Baltimore Police Department violated civil rights.
And I assure you, Senators, that I am listening to all voices. We're currently in the process of considering the request from city officials and community and police leaders for an investigation into whether the Baltimore City Police Department engaged in a pattern or practice of civil rights violations, and I intend to have a decision in the coming days.
This comes after Maryland State Attorney Marilyn Mosby charged 6 Baltimore police officers with murder after the death of Freddie Gray during an arrest last month. Mosby says the police had no rights to arrest Freddie Gray because a knife he was carrying was not illegal under the state of Maryland. Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlins Blake yesterday asked the Justice Department to also look into whether or not the police department had shown a pattern of racism in its dealing with the city's black population.
Oklahoma is recovering after a dozen counties were hit with tornadoes, heavy rain, and severe storms. The National Weather Service had 50 reports of tornadoes in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska. A second day of tornadoes appears unlikely according to forecasters. There is a slight chance of thunderstorms in the Great Plains and parts of Texas. At least 13 people were injured during the storms in Oklahoma City, and many others felt the effects.
I saw 2 clouds meet as one, and then we could hear the sound of a train. Our ears started popping because of the air pressure.
State authorities issued a flash flood emergency for the first time ever after 7 inches of rain fell there. Heavy rain and flooding in the area during this time of year is reportedly not out of the ordinary, but authorities say it doesn't make it any less of a challenge.
A federal appeals court in New York rules the National Security Agency is breaking the law by collecting millions of Americans' phone records on a daily basis. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in New York says the surveillance program violates Americans' privacy rights. The NSA had used the Patriot Act to justify collecting the records so it can search for possible terrorists. Judge General Lynch says the program quote-unquote exceeds the scope of what Congress has authorized. Former government contractor Edward Snowden leaked documents revealing the existence of the program in 2013. Snowden says he was standing up against what he calls the U.S. government's horrifying surveillance capabilities. The ruling raises tension in Congress as the law that justified the program will expire in early June unless lawmakers take action.
Saudi Arabia is working on the terms of a proposed 5-day ceasefire with Yemen so that humanitarian aid can be distributed to the region. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says the U.S. welcomes the proposal and work is being done to determine the details. Kerry says neither the U.S. nor Saudi Arabia are talking about sending ground troops into the region. Violence has been rampant for months after Yemen's president was ousted by Iran-backed Houthis. Saudis say they want to restore Yemen's government. At least 646 civilians have been killed and 1,300 wounded in the area since March, according to the United Nations.
For the first time in 5 decades, Cuba will allow U.S. residents to visit through a ferry service. The Obama administration approved the new path that will aid thousands of people and contribute millions of dollars in goods that travel from Florida to Havana every year. These trips will cost less than air travels, and this will allow many Cuban residents to visit relatives. The service is set to begin by the end of this year.
It is Election Day today all across the United Kingdom. Millions of voters are casting their ballots to choose their next government. Polls open at 7 in the morning and will close at 10 tonight, but any voters already in line at 10 will still be able to vote. A total of 650 Parliament members will be elected to represent constituencies across the country, with about 50 million people registered to vote. Eventually, the election also determines who the British Prime Minister will be, current Conservative Prime Minister David Cameron, or Labour Party leader Ed Miliband. Polls show no clear winner, but on a quick note, it is also the first time ever that people can register to vote online.
A community meeting is set for tonight at 6 in Venice for residents to discuss a fatal police shooting involving an unarmed homeless man. LAPD are investigating the shooting that took place Wednesday night outside of a bar. Officials say the man was physically struggling with a bouncer. When police tried to detain the man, he got physical, and that's when one officer opened fire. Chief Charlie Beck says he was very concerned and stunned about the shooting, which was captured by a security camera. The man was pronounced dead at the hospital, and the 2 officers who were involved in the physical confrontation were removed from the field.
And now let's go to Teresa Arevalo for the latest in sports.
Thank you, James. Clippers and Rockets are tied 1-1 after game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Houston, with home court advantage in the series, needed a win at home. James Harden was in foul trouble, but once the Beard returned, the Rockets refueled. He scored 32 points with 7 assists. Dwight Howard shot 21 free throws, but only made 8 of them. There was no stopping Blake Griffin, scoring 26 points in the half with 15 assists. Griffin wasn't the only big scorer of the night. With Crawford to Jordan with a pick and roll, Crawford scored 19 points with 5 assists. With Chris Paul out with a hamstring injury, the Clippers scored only 41 points in the second half. Despite their best efforts, Rockets get even with the Clippers in Game 2 and defeat LA 115-109. Clippers come back to LA for Game 3 tomorrow night. It is still unknown if Chris Paul will play. New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady might be a Super Bowl champion, but he is falling a little flat these days. An NFL-initiated report says it's more probable than not that Patriot employees deflated footballs before last season's AFC Championship game. Brady denied all allegations in January when the Deflategate first broke. NFL Patriots head coach tried to blame environment factors or equipment factories. But 30-year-old Wilson employee Donna Putman says equipment defects are impossible.
This ball will not leak unless you put a needle in it and let the air out.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell released a statement accepting the report's findings and says he plans to take action soon. And now let's go to Noemi Barajas with the latest in business.
Thank you, Teresa. Parents are now using technology more when it comes to raising their children. Technology such as smartphone apps and items like the Apple Watch allow them to get direct information and connect with other parents. Julia Wang of thebump.com says
they're using it to communicate. They're using it also to consume information on apps, as well as to entertain their kids, shop online, and to keep themselves organized.
The American Academy of Pediatrics advises parents not to share any kind of technology to children under the age of 2. Whole Foods plans to open a separate chain of lower-priced stores aimed at millennials. Chief Executive Walter Robb says the stores will appeal to anyone looking for high-quality fresh foods at great prices. Whole Foods, sometimes called Whole Paycheck, is known for its pricey organic and natural food selection. Whole Foods currently has 460 stores and expects to open 100 more in the U.S. The stores are expected to open next year. They are already negotiating leases, but executives declined to give details. More information will come by Labor Day. And now let's go to Teresa Arevalo with the latest in health news.
Thank you. The smallest patients force some of the toughest choices. A recent study on how premature babies are cared for shows that every hospital is different. A wide range of hospitals always gave aggressive treatment to the youngest preemies as opposed to just comfort care. Researchers had no information on the parents' wishes versus hospital policy. Parents need to know the hospital that they go to might determine what happens to their baby. Survival rates were higher for actively treated babies, but experts say despite medical advances, rates of cerebral palsy, blindness, deafness, and other major problems have not changed. Researchers say parents need to know if doing the right thing is just prolonging dying. We all are aware of major sources of stress, like money or lack of, or a terrible commute. A professor at the University of Toronto says some unexpected reasons why you might feel anxious or agitated are because of your significant other, social media, multitasking, and digital devices, such to name a few. He suggests reducing the intake coffee, tea, and chocolate because caffeine is also known to cause stress. And now let's go to the newsroom with Matador news reporter Joanna Guzman with the latest on how CSUN students are getting ready for finals week. Thank you, Teresa. And speaking about stress, CSUN students are getting ready for finals. And as we all know, finals come with stress. But don't worry, crunch time is here. USU Office Manager Sally Harrison says her office is here to help.
Crunch Time is our finals week support program we have in the USU, but we like to provide students with free study kits that include Scantrons, green books, pencils, highlighters, and then just some snacks to get them through finals week and studying.
Well, my favorite parts are the massages. If I can get those few minutes in with that, I'm good.
I've been stressed out, and so it builds up tension on my back, and so I'm about to get a massage right now.
And I think the most important thing is to have good time management so that you can have time to study.
Students should be sure to stop by the USU. Remember, Matadors, don't bite your nails. The USU has stress relievers for you. Visit the USU next week between 7:30 and 9 in the morning. The services are free. Good luck on your finals. Now let's go back to the studio with Noemi.
Thank you. A 28-year-old man has been arrested after sugar bombing Maroon 5 singer Adam Levine. Levine's left side was completely covered in powdered sugar. The attack happened last night outside of Jimmy Kimmel Live studios in Hollywood while Levine was signing autographs after an appearance. Security held down Naveed Farsi until police arrived and took him into custody. Police say Farsi is a serial offender and is facing 5 counts of battery. Farsi seems to have a theme going on because last week he threw a rock at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Farsi is in jail and is waiting on a $100,000 bail. England's Prince Harry says he had a fantastic month-long deployment in Australia. During his farewell outside Sydney's Opera House, a young woman held up a marriage proposal sign telling the prince it was his last chance to say yes. Prince Harry told her he'll think about it and agreed to a kiss on the cheek, but Victoria McGray had a different kiss in mind. McGray went in for a kiss on the lips, but the prince was quick to react and avoided the lip-to-lip contact. McGray says the kiss was amazing and there was real chemistry. That's all for entertainment. Let's go to James with the latest in weather.
Thank you. Los Angeles and Ventura counties are set to experience rain, strong wind, and even hail through Friday, according to the National Weather Service. Today's temperatures are forecast to be in the low to mid-60s. The chance of rain today is 20% and 50% for tomorrow. Snow might even hit the mountains at elevations as low as 5,000 feet. Lightning and water spouts are also possible on the coast. Things are expected to clear up for the weekend, and temperatures are set to warm up for Mother's Day.
And that's all the news we have for you today. Good luck on your finals, everyone, and congratulations to those graduating. Have a great summer. I'm Sara Vong.
I'm Teresa Arevalo.
I'm Noemi Barajas.
And I'm James Lindsay. Thank you for watching Matador News.